Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never.
Thank you for being part of my show and welcome in Skopje.
And many thanks for having me and for you even arranged this beautiful weather today?
Yes.
Good.
You arrived yesterday. Today is going to be a busy day for you, right?
Hopefully, since I'm here and
book promotion on the book fair.
And every time, as we spoke about, is when you visit a country which is somewhat smaller, with a smaller population, less potential readers, it's truly an honor. And I mean it. I can't bullshit. I never do that, which is a problem. But it is an honor because you know people around the book, they are working with even more love, even more ambition, because it's a big thing. First of all, to be translated and to invest money in that kind, and then to try to sort of get a foreign author out there. So I'm truly honored to be here and much more happy than otherwise going to a fancy country like or you know, New York or something. Mm-hmm. This is more like Sweden, I think, because we are also a small country with a small population and small language.
Yes, you're the main guest of the book fair in Skopje, and in the same time around our country there are also other book fairs in Sarajevo, in Belgrade. How did you make the decision to come in Skopje on this book fair, and why did you bring that decision to be here on our book fair?
Because as we talked about, being here, where it's, you know, when you start right, my dream was to one day be in the small window, in the small bookshop in my small hometown in Sweden. That was good enough. And one day somebody knocked at the door and said, your books could be translated, could they? And then suddenly you are in a country which is similar in some ways, but very not very similar in other ways, and it's life leading you for new paths, and it's just I don't know. So it was very easy to say thank you, please. What plane do you want me to catch? I'm coming now.
You were on my place because you were a journalist 25 years ago, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Does somehow journalism help with your book writing career?
Not just helped. I think for me it was the whole foundation of being a writer. Obviously, every journalist at some point wants to write, I think, his novel or her novel. But being there, I was also traveling the world like that. I had the honor to, okay, this is a long one. When I was a child, really from childhood, mm-hmm. I was, you shouldn't as a kid, but I had to figure out what the fuck is violence. what is this terrible tool which somebody uses on you to get you to do stuff. So when I was growing up, when I was 18, I was taking care of other very young, violent offenders outside the prisons, because I tried to understand what is violence. Then I started at the television, and my main thing, yes, I was a correspondent in Washington and different places, but my main thing was to tell stories about crime, and not the crime, the consequences of crime. What is happening after a crime, to the crime victim, who is the perpetrator, why does he or she do like they do. And I had the biggest news show in Sweden, and I told them all my stories, but nobody was listening. So I thought one day, what could I else do? I can write crime stories, with including half of it should be true, the basic should be true, and the other one is fiction, lies, and a hopefully exciting story. So being a journalist from the beginning helped me to get that research eye, to have that method, well, to maybe getting my language in order. So I think quite a few writers today are from the beginning writers, even Hemingway, I mean. So it's a good company.
Yes.
Sorry, is this super long answers, right?
No, it's okay. It's super answer. You have maybe more freedom when you write books, because you have fiction, you can create a story, you can do by your own, and when you are a reporter, you just need to bring information that are true. And
I really think that being able to lie is a way to give more truth, for me.
To be creative.
No, actually to come closer to the truth. Okay, for example, I was writing a book about the homeless. Today we have a lot of homeless people in Stockholm and Sweden as well. They were living 17 meters below the surface in tunnels. It was mainly 4 girls, 14 years old. They were living down there with a table, and they were, well, hiding from the real world. I was able to convince them to come down to them, to get a part of their life, and to use them as characters in a book later on. If I had come there with a camera or with a paper saying this must be the truth, they would never have said, oh, welcome. If I had been not able to say, you 4 girls will be melted into 1 girl with a new name, the story why they ended up there is still the truth, the same truth, but it's also a truth with lies upon. So I think, and the same reason I went to Colombia, Bogota, for the drug business, writing a book called 3 Minutes, telling the story about how drugs reach Europe from Colombia, and being there in the drug jungle with the drug lords. If I had been there with a camera, they would have said, kill that bastard. But I had the opportunity to be there, to get the information, and then write a book which was half true, half fiction.
Yes.
And so I think that this fictional world is a way of being, reaching the truth, really.
Should you build your character like a crime story writer? Do you have some specific type of character? For example, do you need to be romantic to write romance, or is there some comparison and similarities with crime story
I think the
writers?
most surprising thing I learned is that you have to be nice to be violent in a crime novel, because you have to understand what violence is. If you just use violence as a tool, it's bloody, it's hard, it's emotional, but you don't understand what violence is. If you're not,
should be a victim to understand the
yes,
violence?
maybe a victim, which I was, but also somewhat soft. I can't even see a cat being hurt. So if you hate the violence, then I think if you hate it truly, and you also, because I don't have many close friends, maybe I have 8 close friends. 4 of them are former very heavy criminals, because I was raised in an area where you, well, in a big apartments and trying to understand their driving forces. Why did you, a good person with good thinking, making all these bad decisions, really hurting people? Being able to get into their world and be part of their world is to understand not just the crime victims next life, but also because if you can't understand the driving forces in a criminal, you can never stop it. You can never get him or her to don't do it the next time and the next time. So you need to, and I hope that's my mission anyway, that a crime novel could be a tool to explore a world that you normally don't know much about, but I was let into. And you can use that tool to, well, if you add lies and fiction, to get the reader to read to the end, and maybe afterwards you know a bit more about the consequences of violence and why did he and why did she and how does it really work.
Yes, the message is really important. Also, my mystery is, when you write crime stories, do you believe that the crime, the murders and the characters with the history of crime and violence can get second chance and in the end be the good guys in the story?
Almost every criminal, every person being violent to other person has once in his or her life been a victim as well. So that depends if you meet me here or there, if you meet me as a criminal or as a victim. So, because we are not born evil, we are born like a baby, and then life adds something to your there is a good quota and I like it. There are no bad people, there are just bad actions. And since four of my friends are former heavy, they hurt people, they did bad things. Still now they have served that time in prison, they have done their share, they are trying, of course they should have a second chance, a third chance, because if we should lock out, push away everybody who makes mistakes for some reason, it's not the world I want to live in. I want to live, of course, there are crimes which you never can forgive. And I don't talk about forgiveness, I talk about giving people a second chance. I think that's something different. Because obviously if somebody will hurt I have two children, them, I will never forgive them. But I also don't want them to live in prison for all their life, or because it doesn't help me, it doesn't help my sons, and it doesn't help them. It doesn't help society. Because someday they will come out again, and if they are just, you throw them in jail, take the key and throw it away and give them some bread and water, they will come out even more furious, more bad behaving, and I don't like that society. Hopefully most people don't. I think for one reason, for example, well, I've been to 36 prisons now, as a friend or as a journalist or as the time when I worked with the guys. And in every prison, heavy or not heavy, you have so much drugs. They are not supposed to be there, but still they are. And if you try to treat a person being chemical, being full of drugs, he or she will not feel anything. How should they ever realize what you did to another person? So of course, it is possible to rehabilitate most people. They do say, experts, and I believe them, that a few is not possible to rehabilitate. But most of people are, if you get, well, I was, I was not committing bad things, but I was a confused guy, spent 12 years in psychiatry. I was on the couch and I was on the floor and I was everywhere, but somehow they reached my problems. So of course you can reach another person's problems, and what is the source of your behavior?
Yes.
And if you reach that source, maybe that person doesn't commit the second crime or the third crime. And so I think, I know you have elections now.
Yes.
And every time we have elections in Sweden, every 4 years, it's always about
tension,
crime.
Yes.
Harder, be harder to crime,
Yes.
longer time in prison. And I think, hey, have you been to California? California has the most prison population in the world, and they have the most murders. So
Yes.
it doesn't help.
Yes. Last question. According to your opinion, which emotion in human being is the most powerful? Is it fear? Is it love? Is it solidarity? Because you are writing crime stories, and the common opinion is that fear is the most powerful emotion, and that's why the crime stories are so popular between the readers. Do you agree with that statement?
Scientifically, it is, because fear is in that part of the brain, really, which we had 10,000 years ago, which has not evolved anything. And fear was there to alert you for a lion in the bush or for danger. And to create fear, you were full of adrenaline, you could fly, you could survive. So it's still there. Mm-hmm. So it's a very powerful drug. But to be a good person or a happy person, you cannot survive with fear. You should sort of, but it's harder to get love. It's harder to, I have been spending all my life trying to, okay, what is life? Love. Am I capable of love? Am I capable of receiving love? Because I was not for many, many years. As soon as, well, a lady tried to, when we tried to live together or something, I was in a month or 2 months, I was away because I was sort of afraid of connecting so hard to be naked, on the inside.
Yes, I understand.
And so love is harder, but also therefore stronger, I think, because fear is our primitive first.
Yes.
It's still from the Stone Age,
yes.
But it's still there. It's supposed to when a car is in the street and you're almost run over, you need fear to survive. Because if you don't have fear, it's you will be dead.
You will be dead. Yes.
And we don't like that.
It was a pleasure for me to talk to you, and I wish you good time on the book fair today, and see you again in Skopje.
Thanks very much for this. Thanks.
To the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel